All right. So again, we are very thankful that you are here with us on a Saturday morning doing this training of trainers session. We have booked like 3 hours, but we hope that it will be shorter. It really depends on the pace you would like us to have, the breaks that you would like to have, and so on. But I believe we can definitely finish around 1 hour earlier if we move somehow quickly. Again, we are presenting to you today Shabab Lab and the Web for Change, the Grade 10 program for 2021, which is a pilot program. And of course, we hope that based on the success of this program, we will have future collaborations with all of your schools and with more schools as well in Lebanon and the region and the Arab region. As we mentioned earlier, Shabab Lab is an e-learning platform that is specialized in social innovation education for high schoolers, and it is an initiative by the social enterprise Riyada for Social Innovation, which is a registered legal entity in Lebanon. I would like to start out by the problems that we are addressing through the platform. We always have to think, why are we doing this? What are the bigger objectives? So we really believe that we have a great need in our society to equip the youth with the needed skills for them to embark on the 21st century jobs, which are changing. As you all know, we are hearing and seeing a drastic change in the job market. And to do that, we have to be equipping our youth with new skills that they weren't exposed to before. So this is why we are focusing on employability skills throughout all our programs in an indirect, subtle way. Moreover, we are promoting innovation throughout all the programs that we offer, where technology and innovation is an inherent part of what we're doing. And also we are making the students more responsible citizens, more global citizens, where they are engaging with their communities and finding solutions for real problems that they have. So we are solving several problems: the need for better skilled youth, need for more innovation, and the need for more connected citizens with their communities and social problems. And this is from the youth side. However, from the schools side, we also have done our research, and we realized that although top schools like your schools today are aware of these needs, of these changes in our era, yet they sometimes struggle with how they want to equip the youth with the needed skills in a timely manner, in a technological fashion, in a sustainable way. And they are aware that they need to improve the quality of education, yet sometimes they don't have the needed people or skills or means. And this is where our role comes into play, where we help the schools to bridge this gap and be able to provide the best education to their students, and to enrich and complement what they're already doing, to have more entrepreneurship, more technology, and more social innovation in their curricula. So this is how we are helping schools. And again, this is a collaboration between Shabab Lab and the schools. I would like to start off with a story. I know some of you have heard this before, but it's good for the newcomers. I would like to tell you about one of our alumni of our programs that, as I mentioned, have been taking place since 3.5 years now. Tariq is a young a guy who lives in the Bekaa area in Lebanon, and who is part of a public Lebanese school. Tariq knew about one of our programs, and he registered for the program that we called Robotics for Good in summer 2018. It was in partnership with ToT, the telecom operator company. And he learned about Arduino, and he came up with a project that uses robotics for the betterment of the human health. That was his first experience with us, and I knew later on that over the summer, after he finished the program, he continued working on his Arduino skills. And afterwards, he told me, like, I became an expert in robotics and Arduino, which was awesome. Uh, his passion towards technology and being a bit shy, finding himself, like making new friends, working in team, encouraged him to participate in another program with us in spring 2019 that we called Virtual Reality for Good, where the participating youth created virtual reality applications for mental health issues. And Tariq, with his friend, they participated, they created a team, pitched a project, but he didn't win as well. But it was also a great experience for him. Afterwards, he joined us for a third program called IoT for Good in summer 2019. So IoT stands for the Internet of Things. And we also used Arduino one more time and sensors in order to solve problems related to the environment. And Tariq, along with his partner, they created a device to detect illegal hunting. And they won the first place in the program, but they didn't stop there. After the program, they continued prototyping and enhancing their solution, and they registered a patent in Lebanon. So only maybe 2 or 3 months later, they had a patent. And of course, that is one of our success stories, because somebody who's still 17 years old to have a patent is something significant. But also his journey did not stop here. He joined us again in the last summer when we had to move online because of COVID, for a program called Rethinking Politics through Social Innovation. And he also won first place with his team. And they won a trip to Berlin, which is supposed to take place this summer, 2021, where they're going to attend the Youth Politics Forum. As you can imagine, this is great exposure for youth his age. And finally, he sent me not a long time ago that he was accepted to join a program called Global Young Leaders Conference, hosted by George Mason University in the USA. And he was thanking us for all the experience and all the exposure that he had gained throughout our program. So what's the takeaway here is that we want your students, we want our participants in the Shabab Lab programs to be like Tariq. We want them to embark on this journey and continue with it after it's done. It's not just about the program, it's not just about a one-time project, it's really about the mindset, it's really about the skills they acquire and how they use them throughout their life. And we want our youth to become the social innovators and the change makers that our societies need. So this is the whole idea behind Shabab Lab. This year we're starting with grade 10, but we will make sure to have programs for grade 11 and 12, and we're going to work on that over the summer so that early next year we have programs that cater for all high school students, again in Lebanon and in the region, because we're also working on an Arabic version of the platform. So what are we trying to do? We are planting the seed of social entrepreneurship in our youth early on while they are still at high school, because we believe that this seed will grow, if not directly, later on, when after a few years or when they join university or maybe even later. But we know that this is something that will stay with them and will shape how they think forever. We are fostering community engagement and problem solving, because again, we want them to be responsible citizens. We want them to be initiative takers. We want them to be proactive community members. Also, we are providing practice-based entrepreneurship learning. And now throughout the presentation, you're going to see how we're doing this. They will be working on an actual project that they will pitch as an entrepreneurial endeavor. And we are promoting technology for good. And this is very important because you all know how much influenced our youth are by technology, how much pervasive it is. They are using it all the time, day and night, but many of them unfortunately use it in a passive way. So we are just passive consumers of technology, but we believe that they can be active producers of technology, and more specifically for technology for social good. We believe that technology is just a tool that humans can use to the betterment of society or otherwise. And of course, we want to encourage our students our youth and equip them with all the skills they need to use it for humanity and for the sustainability of humankind and of the earth, of our planet. As I mentioned, we have tested our programs and the design of the programs over many years now with great success stories, with great feedback. And since more than 6 months now, we have been completely online. And now we have our platform, which is a scalable solution to expose hundreds of thousands of Arab youth to these skills at once. I will be showing you the demo and spending more time on this in the third section of this training of trainers. So you will be able to look more closely at this. And now I would like to talk more about the program that your students will be exposed to. Again, this is a grade 10 program, and we will be working on programs for grade 11 and 12 during the summer. So the whole idea behind a Web for Change is that youth who are at the grade 10 level of their schools will be creating a web application that solves or contributes to solving an environmental problem in their community. So again, this is specific to their own environment, to their own society. We are promoting community and civic engagement, meaning that we want them to identify a specific problem in their neighborhood, building, school, village, so anything that relates to them. And they will follow the process that you will provide them with in order to come up with a feasible, viable, and practical solution to solve it using web applications. So every program will have a different technology, and every program will have a different theme that is inspired by the Sustainable Development Goals, or what we call the United Nations 2030 Agenda. What will the students be doing in this? They will learn WordPress. So this is an open source, free tool. It's a very powerful tool to use to build websites and web applications. So they will learn this, and this is something that can stay with them, because when they have the basics or when they've done a prototype, they can do more and more. Like Tariq, how he kept improving his Arduino skills, they can keep like building their WordPress muscles. There's a lot of online resources and tutorials, but will give them like the first push. And they can maybe have side projects later on, do their own websites if, for maybe school projects or real projects they want to execute. They might even be able to offer their services in web development for other like individuals or small enterprises. And by the way, one of our alumni is doing that. He learned WordPress with us in like a hackathon. So it was only a 2.5-day event. And he continued with that. And what he is doing now is that it's like his side work. He's a freelance web developer, and he can generate pocket money. He's now at first year of his university. Of course, this will foster their community engagement, because during the process, and I'm going to talk more about this, they have to follow the design thinking process, which is also, we call it the human-centered design. They have to understand the problem of a specific community. They have to empathize with them. They have to do some interviews. They could be virtual. I mean, even with COVID, we can still do virtual interviews. That's totally fine. So this will make them closer to their community. And when they want to test and validate their solutions, also this will have they will have a better sense of community engagement. They will also learn about social entrepreneurship throughout the program. And finally, they will be part of the regional competition, where everybody who is now part of a Web for Change will be competing with each other over some prizes and awards that will be announced by the end of the program. So I'm gonna walk you through the outline of the program, and then we will go into much more details. A Web for Change constitutes of 8 different modules. So we are calling it a program. So a Web for Change is a program, and it consists of 8 different modules. And you'll have the chance to see them on the platform shortly. The first module is what is social innovation? So it's really an introductory module. We'll talk more about the UN 2030 agenda, the sustainable development goals. We'll talk about definitions, what's innovation, what's entrepreneurship, what's social innovation, what's social entrepreneurship. We will talk more about examples of social innovators from the Arab world. And we will encourage them and push them to do more research to find some other examples from their own communities about social innovation. And throughout the modules, we will ask them to interact. So there will be a discussion forum where they will have to like say, okay, what's the research results they got? What are some other social innovation examples they could find? So there will always be like an engagement aspect. The second module is the design thinking process. And by the way, if you have any questions, you can simply like interrupt me and ask. You don't have to wait for me to finish. And if you didn't, then we'll open like a room for questions after this. The second module is called the design thinking process. So they will be introduced to the human-centered design. And by the way, all our programs at Shabab Lab will follow this methodology. So even in grade 11, grade 12, they will revisit design thinking because this is the mostly used framework to solve or to create meaningful solutions that solve real problems, I would say. So it's just a methodology, and even if we repeat it over the years, it's fine because you need this kind of repetition, as you all know, like you all work in schools, you need this kind of repetition for these to stick. And again, this is a mindset we want them to grasp really well and be able to apply throughout the different projects that they come up with. The first delivery,
Doctor,
yes.
Doctor, I would like to ask a question. When we did our meeting, during our meeting with the students, when you were explaining to them, at first it felt a bit overwhelming for the students. Not for, they didn't say anything,
Mhm,
but Ms. Nada and I, when we looked at it, we thought that they have to do a lot.
mhm.
Is this what we felt through? Just to know first. Second, are you going to open the module for them, and then like there is a deadline for them to finish the first one, and then they can see it. They can see it, but they cannot see the second before they finish the first. And then you open the second for them. Is this what is going to happen? And then when they do it, what is our role? For example, you told
Yeah.
us that we need to be there for them. Definitely, we are for. Miss Katie also joined now
Yes.
or a bit before, but I just saw her name. So my question is, we are for what is our role with them? I know that maybe you're going to mention this later on, but do we have to read this also? Are we supposed to read this also with the students?
Yes, so what I'm gonna be doing today, I'm gonna be taking you over the main concepts. So in case you don't want to do it on the platform, you will already, so I'm gonna give you the training very quickly in a very like compact version today. Maybe the concepts that you're not very familiar with. I'm gonna like cover everything. For the overwhelming, I would tell you that because of like how you see it, yes, it looks overwhelming. However, in reality, this is not overwhelming. The process is very smooth, very logical. It flows really nicely. And the face-to-face, because they don't have like all of these things, it doesn't look as overwhelming. Online, I mean, we worked on this to make it less overwhelming. I know what you're talking about, and I told the team the same thing. Like it looks too much, but in reality, it's not. So every module is like it won't take more than 1 hour. So what is social innovation? It takes around 40 to 50 minutes, for example, and it's a series of. And I'm gonna show you in a bit. It's a series of 5-minute videos, sometimes less. So like for example, the first one is a minute and a half, then we have five, 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 and then for example the last one or two is like 3 minutes, something like that. So each module of these is like around 1 hour long, so they can really do it in one sitting. But because it's self-paced, asynchronous, e-learning, they have the freedom to take more time with it. And in the next slide, I have the answer to what you asked about, like the deadline, start date. So we have this already, and we're going to be sending it to you again through email. I don't know if I answered all your questions. And yeah, we're gonna go through these topics today. Um, so I don't think there should be like any reason for you to be overwhelmed. And for your role will be basically to check on their progress, and I'm going to show you how you can do it through the platform, and to check their deliverables or submissions. And of course, I will today tackle the most important things that you have to be checking for. If you have any questions, we're always there. So we are always there to support. And by the way, we will be checking the assignments as well. And if you want us to give our feedback, we can do that. But we have realized, based on the interviews and conversations we had with schools, that they would like to own this process. And again, we're not here to replace the school. On the contrary, we're here to complement the school, and again to like provide the schools with this tool to bridge a certain gap. And this is why we believe it's very essential that these supervisors at the school have the knowledge and the means in order to take control of the process and be monitoring the progress of their students. If you need our support, we're definitely there, especially when it comes to the tech part. Especially this year, because we didn't coordinate early on how to integrate the different subjects, topics in the different subjects at school. We will be working on this for next year. But for this year, because we didn't do that, we will be, for example, when it comes to the tech part, we will be doing all the support. So Asim will be answering all the questions of the students. If they have any issues with like following the steps of the WordPress development, like we will take care of this. So yeah, don't worry at all. And we do want to hear from you, like, oh, this is like, it was too much, maybe we can
Okay,
reduce
thank you
this
very much.
so much. Thank you.
And we would also like to have Mr. Wasim's email that way, because
Yeah,
once
I
he
will
mentioned
share all the emails
his
as
title, we know that we might need him. Okay, thank you.
most welcome. All right, so I'm gonna continue, and then I'm gonna like answer some more questions as I go along. So the second module is the design thinking process. As I mentioned, it's like the framework we use for all our programs. And the first submission, so here the check marks are the submissions, and I'm gonna show it in another slide as well, is for them to identify an environmental problem. So for this year, the theme is environmental. So we'll be tackling the environmental SDGs. And I want you to know that even though it's the environment, still it's very broad. So they still have a lot of freedom, a lot of room to choose different projects. So I'm not worried to have like similar projects, for example, because it's a very broad theme. And if they follow the process, each one should have a different problem and a different solution from their other classmates. I will tackle the deliverables more and then up in the coming slides. The third module is market research. So they will be learning about, and I'm sure they've seen this in school, like what's primary research, what's secondary research, how can I do this in the context of this project, a Web for Change? What should I be looking for as a primary research? Again, this taps a bit on design thinking. I have to do interviews, I have to talk with the people, I have to collect the data to understand to better understand the problem, my target customers, and I need to do secondary research to know what others are doing in this field, what are the trends, who are my competitors, and so on. This is like a short module, but it's very essential. And after that, they will be exposed to web development. As we mentioned, through WordPress, it's an open source, very famous and well used web development tool. And they will learn step by step how to create a website. After now, they're exposed to, okay, social innovation, they know design thinking, they have identified a problem, they know how to do market research. Hopefully they are implementing already, so they are doing a bit of it. they know how to do web development, they have to think, okay, what could be my solution? So how can I solve the problem that I have identified? And they have to, using some templates we have prepared, upload a solution idea. Very, very simple templates, not too long. They don't have to write a lot. It's just like writing a few words here and there. So this is the fifth module. Is a very short module. It's called ideations, like around 2 videos. And they just have to wrap everything they have learned to identify a feasible, viable, sustainable solution. And specific, because we don't want to solve the environmental problem in Lebanon. It's impossible. Like, we have to be very specific. After they do that, they will learn how to create a business plan, and they will learn all about the social business model canvas step by step. It's a 10 video series, and they will, at the end of it, have to upload their social business model canvas. Also, they have the template and so on. Now they have all the components they need. So they have the problem, they have a solution, and they have the business model canvas. They can go ahead and create a prototype using what they learned in the fourth module, which is web development. So they will actually build a prototype, and all we need from them is to take snapshots. So their prototype is really a website, but it will be on their local server. So it will be on their laptops. It won't be online because we don't have the hosting for everybody. So they will build it on their local server, which is their local host, which is their laptop, and they will take snapshots and they will upload it on the platform. So now they have everything. They have including the prototype. It's time for them to present their work, to present their project. So they will learn about pitching, how to pitch your solution in a convincing, in an entrepreneurial way, yet by focusing on the social impact and environmental impact of their work. And after they do that, they will have to videotape their pitch and upload a link to their video pitch. This link will go to a jury, a panel of jury members who are experts in entrepreneurship, technology, social impact, and so on. And they will select the best teams that will win with us for this year. And the competitions should get bigger every year. So this is a small competition this year. We have plans to get big sponsors on board for future competitions, big regional and international sponsors like Microsoft and so on. So this is all in the making, and they will win cash prizes. For this year, we have a total of 1,000 fresh US dollars as awards, which will be divided upon 3 to 5 teams. We have to see the total number of teams that we will have at the end. So this is what Ms. Carla was asking about, the timeline. So these are the start dates and deadlines. Okay, and I will have to explain a bit more about this. You are going to see that the deadline of one module, or that one module will start before the deadline of the previous module. This is done on purpose, because again, we know that different students will be doing this at a different pace. Plus they have like exams, homework, assignments, and so projects and so on. So we wanted to keep a room for flexibility. But the deadline really is not a strict closure date, but it's a suggested deadline. Of course, we will urge them, send them emails. You have to be as well, like you will know whether they finished or not. And the whole idea is deadlines should be respected for the submissions. I'll have another slide for submission deadlines. So the introduction to social innovation starts on March the 25th. And we recommend it's done before April 1. Again, I told you it's like 1 hour long. They can really do it in one day. It's so easy. And there are no submissions here. For the design thinking module, we'll start it on March 28th. So they cannot access it before March 28th. And if they're not done the intro to social innovation, they will not be able to access it. So if they are not done the previous modules, they will be late to start the new modules. So this is why it's important to stay on track. And the deadline will be April the 8th. Market research, I'm not going to read everything, but this is the whole idea. Like, we start before the deadline of the previous one in case somebody is like progressing quickly, so that they keep motivated and they don't lose the motivation just because, you know, they're waiting for the module to be unlocked. So this is the suggested dates. Maybe I will give you a few minutes to look at it. And if you have any issues, suggestions, let me know.
But I have a question. Would you have a list with the deadlines or the timeline, or we will have
Yes.
this slideshow, or at least we will have them?
Yes, you will have them. So I will be sending this by email, and of course the slideshow, you'll have it. And we have another table that I will show you in the next slide, where only we have the submissions and their deadlines. But if you can just take a look
Perfect.
now and tell me if this makes sense to you.
Of course. Thank you.
So the whole idea is that we want to finish before their exams, before the end of the school year, where they still have, time to do non-exam related work. And the competition results should be out by June the 10th. I also hope this is a good date for you. So just give me a sign if it's all okay, if you have any questions, if you have any suggestions.
No, for
For me,
me,
it's
it's
very good.
fine.
It's important
All right.
before their final exams.
Yes, we are totally aware about that. And this is why we had to squeeze it like in 2 months. All right, so I hope this is all good. Again, if you have any suggestions, just let us know by email, by contacting us directly. Anyway, is fine. This is the submissions deadline. So again, they have 5 submissions, and you have to be checking 4 of them, I would say, and not the 5. The 4 that you have to be checking is, first of all, the identified problem, which will be a very simple template. And I'm going to talk more today about this. The whole idea and the biggest mistake that students do is that they tend to choose big problems. And this is exactly what we don't want them to do. We want them to choose a very specific problem. They might think that it's not attractive to work on a small problem, but it's the other way around. If we choose a big problem, like for example, pollution in Beirut, uh, it's too big for us, like no matter how big we are, even if we're like an organization, a university, to tackle. This is why we use the design thinking to make sure they are thinking on a specific scale. And this is why we said in your community. So it could be, again, their building, their school, their village, their neighborhood. It does not have to be Beirut or Lebanon or like UAE. We have one school from UAE. Like it could be a very small thing. It could be like, why do people still throw their plastic bottles on like Ramlet al Bayda? It could be very like, a small thing. We want it to be small. And by the way, the small problems or like specific problems will lead to much better solutions than big ones. And they will lead to innovative solutions. And maybe you're going to know more what I'm saying when you start seeing their deliverables and their submissions. So it's very important to have a very specific problem. And again, the templates will help them to do that. But here is where you and us, if you would like us also to intervene, this is where your role comes in. It's like, for example, you can say like, Stefan, this is a big problem. I need you to narrow it down further. Like just to guide them, like you have to think about your community, think small, start small, think big. Okay, so this is what we need to do. We do encourage team formation. So again, for those who were with us earlier on, you've heard this. I'm sorry to be repeating, but it's for the newcomers. For this year and for this pilot program, our platform still does not support teamwork, meaning that we do not have a lot of tools on the platform for the students to be working together as a team. But we will be working on this during the summer in our further research and development of the platform. but we will have a few tools for them to utilize to be able to create teams. So the team formation for now is optional. It is not mandatory. However, it is highly, highly encouraged. And I'm sure you know why, because like working in a team is part of this whole process, because in reality, when you are trying to solve a real problem in your community, you can't do it on your own. You need people to work with you, basically. So we want to foster this team spirit, teamwork early on as well. What we will do is for every school, there will be a group on the platform. So it's a bit similar if you want to think about it like a Facebook group, where they can see the other students who are taking the program, and they can like talk together, they can post, they can reply to each other, and so on. And if you look at the deadline for team formation is April the 25th, meaning it's 1 month after the program starts. Why? Because we want to make sure that teams are formed on the basis of identified problems, and not just on like, I like this person, I want to work with them, or like they're my best friend. I know that this might be a factor, which is fine, but we want them really to create teams based on synergies, based on like mutual passion, based on problems that they are passionate about and they want to solve. So this is why on the group on the school groups, we will be encouraging the students to share their identified problem and solicit team members to join them on the journey or on the mission to solve this problem. And of course, there might be similar problems, and this is where they can form their teams. Now, any like teamwork will take place outside of the platform, meaning if, let's say, Bruna, Stefan, Matteo, and I don't know who, they decided to work together, this means that they will have to organize their team meetings outside of the platform. For example, if they have, I know, Zoom accounts or Google Meet accounts, they can simply like do it on their own. Like they can have a WhatsApp group and work on that, basically. So for this year, again, yes, the teamwork and these details is not supported on the platform itself, so they have to be working outside. But we will ask them to inform us about their team members if they have a team, which we highly encourage, so that we know that after the first deliverable, the deliverables will be the same. So the second, third, fourth, and fifth deliverable will be the same for all the team members, basically. So the second submission is the identified solution. So this is that the deadline is on May the 3rd. And it comes under the ideation module. So again, they have been exposed to the design thinking, to the social innovation module, to market research and web development, and they have to come up with an adequate, practical, viable, sustainable solution for their problem. The third one is the social business model canvas. This is a one-page canvas. I'm going to show it to you later. And they have to fill it in and submit it by May the 10th. Here you can see that like there's 1 week difference between two submissions. It might seem like, oh, like that's too tight. However, I mean, we can discuss this. If you think it's not feasible, we can try to change the date of the second submission. But I want to tell you that the identified solution is a very small thing. So even if you are going to check it, it won't take a lot of time. It's just like a simple idea. It's like a few sentences long, not more, on what they want to do as web application and how this will help solve the problems that they have identified earlier. When it comes to this social business model canvas, it is one page. However, there's more content there. So it does need more time from your side, for example, to like read it, go through it, understand it. And of course, we are here to support, as I mentioned. So if you think this is problematic, just let us know and we'll try to figure it out. Snapshots of prototype. This is just a snapshot, nothing else, like just pictures of what they have done. It's on May the 17th. And finally, the link to video pitch, which you don't have to review yourself. You can, of course, but like that's the final deliverable. They cannot redo it or resubmit it. If they want to share it with you earlier, they can do that. But again, once they submit the final one, May 25th, we will have to collect this and it will be sent to the jury to evaluate basically, and we will be sharing with them the evaluation rubric upon which they will be assessed. So again, if you have any questions, any issues, any suggestions, let me know now, or you can let me know afterwards. So again, I'll give you like maybe a couple of minutes to process this. So any issues, any concerns, any suggestions? Is it clear?
I mean, it's just the fact that there is 1 week of difference between one submission and the other. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes, I totally hear you. But again, I am gonna like say again what I mentioned earlier. The identified solution is like 2 sentences. That's it. This is the template. They cannot, if they submitted like a long document, we'll tell them like this is not what we needed. Like you have to stick to the template, which is like 2 sentences long. So this is for the identified solution. The business canvas is the juicy part, I would say. The snapshots is just picture images. So again, like if you feel this is like too tight, for them, it's not tight because they have been planning for this for a month, and they have been working on this. So this is like the last phases. This is why and now maybe you'll see it more when you see the platform. They have everything they need. They just have to execute. And this is why usually it's like, yes, it's like the pace is faster towards the end, because they've got like everything they need, that now they just have to do it. I don't know if you would like to like have it more spread.
Doctor,
No, I don't mind.
think is what I think, Nada, maybe let us try. Maybe
Yes.
we feel that this is too much, because we still, once they try and we read with them and we accompany them, maybe we will feel that no, the time is more than enough. Maybe they will be bored if we, if we start stretching, and they feel like, they have a lot of time to do between one phase and the other. Once we try, since this is a pilot study also, and we find that we are squeezed with time, we can inform Dr. Mona and the team, and they can, if we find that it's so tight. But let us keep it as is, because then they'll be bored also. It's a two-edged sword. If we keep on stretching, they will be bored. What do you think? I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. But
They
I
might
just
lose
wanted
focus.
Yes, stretching doesn't help. We have done like stretched programs. Usually the fast-paced ones, they are like better in terms of results. But I want to show you one thing. Like if we go back to the previous slide, you will see that, for example, when it comes to ideation, where is the second, they have the second submission, it opens up on April the 20th. So they have around 2 weeks to do this. So if somebody is like, they want to do it quickly, they can submit by April 21st, for example. So they have like a 2-week frame to submit this and to finish with it. Of course, the deadline is like, you have to have submitted it. If you didn't, we'll tell you you're late. But we are hoping, I don't know, I mean, maybe you'll tell me everybody is a last minute person, they will follow the deadlines. It could be, I'm not sure. But the whole idea is that they have a window, a good frame, a good time to work on this. It's not just like they have 1 week for it. Same thing goes to the business plan. So it opens on April the 27th. So they have a good time to work on their business plan. Same thing for the prototyping. So they have around 2 weeks for each of these.
Okay, I got you.
So this is what I was mentioning, like the windows are a bit flexible. And we hope that like for the motivated ones, the enthusiastic ones, they will be doing. And the nice thing about submitting early is that you can tell them like, you can refine this and resubmit. So you can give them comments and they can submit once more. So they will benefit more if they submit early. Maybe we can make this a point when we start communicating with them by email and things like that. All right, any other questions? All right, so I also want to tell you that we already have our social media accounts up, and we will encourage the students to not just follow, but to try to interact. So many times they will have to talk about certain things or do some things, and we would like to see how they're doing this. Of course, it's not mandatory, it's optional, but we do encourage them to like post on Instagram. We will repost, post in our stories, things like that. And for you, like if you're also on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, I know that the youth are not really on those platforms. We already have a good digital presence, and we're always posting like relevant articles, relevant blog posts, things like that. And we hope to be launching our TikTok maybe in the summer. This will be also more engaging with the students, and of course it's not just fun, it's like learning fun, I would say. And these are our email addresses. So mona@riyadainnovation.com. I have also a mona@shabablab.com if you want to use it. This is my phone number. Feel free to reach out. And we have Yasmin and Wasim also. These are their email addresses. So this will conclude the first part of this training. Maybe we can take a 5-minute break if you want. And then we continue with the rest, where I will be covering the material. I will be covering the most important modules that, I mean, the very simple stuff I won't cover, but the like juicier stuff, I would say we will cover just for us to be on the same page. And of course, we'll take any questions. So that will be the second part. And then the third part of today will be going over the platform, like a tour, and showing you as teachers, as supervisors, what you can see as a teacher on the platform, how you can see your students, how you can see their submissions, how you can leave them comments, and so on. So this will be the third and last part. So would you like to have
Dr. Aitani, our meeting is going to end at what time approximately?
So 1 second.
Because I have another meeting and I told them I don't know till what time we're staying to answer the other.
Yes, so I believe that we need a maximum of another, let's say, 1.5 hours.
So 11:30?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, we have, I think, sent to you 12:30, but I hope we'll be done by 11:30. It might be a bit more than that.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so shall we take a 5-minute break now for everybody to
Yes,
yes,
Great.
thank you.
All right,
that way we can.
So we'll meet again at maybe 10:07 and continue with
Okay.
the second
Yes,
part.
perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I'll just share my screen. And like for Sankar, you're gonna see that it has changed a bit since when we showed the students, but we made it more user-friendly. So we're continuously like updating, improving, and you're gonna see like things are getting better by the week, basically. So I'm gonna go back to the course. All right, so we will add like a better definition here. We're gonna like still be doing some changes over the coming few days before the 25th. So now what Ms. Nada said, it was overwhelming. Our course content was like spread over like 3 pages, and I was telling the development team it is too overwhelming, so we shrunk it into a smaller display, I would say, where it's like only on 1 page, and you will be able to see the different topics when you expand the module. So each of these is a module, and under it there will be different lessons. So the number of lessons might still change because we're doing our final review, our final testing, and we might either remove some videos or add a few more. But again, they are very short videos. I'm gonna I quickly cover the introduction to social innovation because it's really like very introductory, very basic. So I won't spend a lot of time. I will just tell you like what they're going to be covering really quickly. The first lesson is about 21st century skills. So it's just a welcome message telling them like we're very happy to have you with us on the platform. This is your door to 21st century skills, and we cover the top 10 21st century skills that they have to learn for them to be employable. And we will tell them how being part of a Shabab Lab program will help them there. So we do the linkage between the different skills and the Shabab Lab program. Then we talk the first like material video is the difference between invention and innovation. So here they will, because you all know that there's this like mix up always between what's invention, what's innovation. Should innovation be something new? So we clarify this misconception and define innovation, and of course simple terms that are adequate for a grade 10 student. And here is where you might tell us, for example, we felt like the terminology is a bit advanced, maybe we need to improve this. So we'll take a note, and like over the summer we'll fix this to be like more adequate for their age group. But we have tested this with grade 10 before, and it was fine. But anyway, like you can always give us this kind of feedback. Then we'll talk about entrepreneurship briefly, like how does entrepreneurship help our society? Why is it important? And then we talk about examples of social innovation. So we cover like real examples from different social innovators in our world. Here, I'm going to show you this one, for example. What kind of entrepreneur are you? So this is, there's no video here. What they do is they will take a quiz online, and they will know what kind of entrepreneur they are. And then they have to share on the discussion forum. So simple stuff. And here you don't have even to check this. So it's very like organic. It's again not mandatory for them to do it, but we encourage them to engage with other people on the platform and say like, are they surprised? Are they happy with the results? So on. I will move on. So then we talk more about problems inspired by the UN 2030 agenda. So we will cover quickly. I know some of the schools already do this, like we won't spend too much time here covering the SDG, and we always have some supplementary material. So for example, here we have 2 videos on the global goals. And like the videos are very well chosen. So they are short and very inspiring. So like there's like music, they will like really like it. And again, this is optional, but it's highly recommended that they go through all the material on the platform. After that, we will like I have a video where, okay, we need to, 1 second. So you can see they cannot proceed if they haven't completed a previous, okay. All right, previous session. So this, I mentioned it, I'm gonna complete it. And then we answer common questions. Like I'll show you maybe just a bit. Don't know what just happened. 1 second. Excuse me, I mean, I don't know what just happened. Yeah. All right, so you're gonna see in the videos we have like some interactive questions. We're gonna, so for example, here, as soon as the video started, we asked them a question: which of the following is true about social innovation? So it should make use of technology, it should target only vulnerable communities, none of the choices, it should be not for profit. So I'm gonna say none of the, and this is the correct answer. So we have some questions for them, but here is like where we answer, yes, some questions. Like, should it be profit, not for profit? Should we only tackle vulnerable communities? Should it only be about technology? Should it be only about entrepreneurship? And the answer is like none. It could be anything really. We answer this one by one. And then I just want to show you one more thing. So this is again pretty basic, this module. There isn't much to cover with you really. Yeah, I just want to show you one thing. This is another discussion forum. For example, here we covered some examples and we asked them which one is your favorite, and they can just like submit and you'll see the results, like who likes what. And then there's a discussion forum. Okay, I think this one I wanted to show you, 1 second. Yeah, so sometimes you also have these like cards, they're called flip cards, that they in very simple and fast way, they can learn more about certain things. For example, here we're talking about different examples of social innovations like accessibility technology. They can read more about it. Recycling robots, electric cars, sustainable material, edible utensils. So these are like a few examples of social innovations, for example. So this is the first one. It's pretty easy. Do you have any questions about the first module? It's like just introductory, making sure they know what we're talking about. They have the foundation. They get to think about like, oh, what's social innovation? We ask them to do some research and come up with more examples from their own, or if it's from their community, it's even better. So any questions about that?
No, they look straightforward.
Clear.
Clear, everything's clear.
Great. All right, now I'm gonna go to design thinking. All right. All right, so I'm going to walk you quickly through a design thinking module or process, which is really what the students will be doing. So we introduce the origin of the design thinking process. We tell them that this originated from Stanford and from IDEO, the design company. We explain how it came to be, and we then go through the process step by step. So as you can see on the screen, we have 5 steps that we explain. The first one is empathy. The second one is definition of the problem. The third one is ideation. The fourth one is prototyping. And the last one is testing. And if you can do the relationship with the program, you can see that we are following a big part of this process throughout the program. So they will do the empathy in order to define the problem. They will submit their problem, then they will ideate, submit their solution, then they will prototype, submit their prototype. And testing is what we can't really, I would say, measure with them. So it's whether they will test it or not in reality is something we won't know, but we will see how they plan to test it, at least in the pitch. So we try to follow the design thinking methodology closely. And I'm gonna quickly tell you more about each of these steps. So I know some of you might be very familiar with this. You might already be exposing your students to design thinking, which is great. We have some schools who are doing really a wonderful job there, but some other schools who might not be as familiar. So I will quickly cover the basics, the things that you need to be aware of in case you get asked, basically. Because again, you are their first point of contact. So unless it's like a technical issue on the platform, we prefer that they talk to you. Like if they are a bit lost, I don't know how to really define the problem, it's better that they talk to you first. And if it's like a complex, definitely we are here to support as well. So the first step or phase of the design thinking process is what we call the empathy. they have to empathize. And here is again the community engagement part. They have to look closely at their community, at their environment, at the people around them, and they have to identify, they have to pinpoint a certain problem or a certain pain, and they have to talk to people from their community who are facing this problem in order to have a better understanding of the causes of the problem, of the consequences of the problem, of the maybe opportunities that are there because of this problem. So when we talk about empathy, we talk about conducting interviews. And again, I know you tell me COVID and things, but they can still do like virtual interviews. We all now use Zoom or Teams or Google Meet, what have you. You know, we can do a WhatsApp call. It could be just a call, not necessarily like a video call. It could be starting with, friends, relatives, our parents' friends. Like it doesn't have to be like I'm really going out of my space and like interviewing CEOs. If they do that, that's great. But like we're not asking for that. It's just about conducting some interviews to be able to better understand the problem. Why? Because we don't want them to simply rely on their assumptions and intuition and feelings and thought and like own thoughts. Like I think that people don't sort the waste because they are lazy. It's just an assumption. How do you validate this? How would I solve the sort wasting problem if it's like a problem that I want to tackle, if I don't talk to people or observe them or have a conversation with them to really understand why they're not sorting their waste? So this is the whole idea behind the empathy part. Again, please, if you have any questions, stop me at any point in time and we can have a small discussion. So we want them to do interviews, try to do some shadowing. It could be simply to shadow their, their parents at home or their relatives if they are visiting them or anything, to understand or maybe just observe how people do things on the street, to understand, like, again, why a certain problem exists, how do people do things. Again, it's seeking to understand, and it shouldn't be judgmental. So it's just about understanding and not just relying on our own assumptions and thoughts. And again, this is one of the biggest problems when we tell, for example, our youth, I want you to select a problem that you want to solve. Many times, this is based on their own assumptions, beliefs, thoughts, experiences, and not rooted in like a bigger experimentation, a bigger empathy. And this is the big difference when it comes to design thinking. We encourage them to understand the problem based on a scientific sort of method, plus it's really rooted in the community, direct engagement with the people, direct interviews, direct observation or shadowing. So the results are much better because you'll have to, you will get to understand the problem more objectively. You'll tend to understand more facets that you haven't seen before. So this is I would say the strength of the design thinking process is the empathy part. Any questions on that? So there isn't a submission relevant to empathy. So for example, in university at AUB, I ask my students to submit the interviews, the summary of the interviews, who they interviewed, what were like the main findings. Here we're not doing that. But again, how will you know if they have done some interviews? From the problem identification, and then later from the solution identification as well. So again, if the problem is very general, it's very broad, it's very big, it's again based on like the popular assumptions, then probably they didn't follow the design thinking methodology. Probably they didn't empathize, they didn't try to ask people around, they just based it on their own assumptions. And this is where we have to intervene and say, like, did you do some interviews? Did you try to better empathize, understand the pains of the people? Did you try to observe and understand the root causes, the underlying reasons of why they do this kind of behavior? So this is where we and you as supervisors have to intervene and remind them, like, did you do empathy? Because this is, again, an inherent component of this process. So this is for empathy. The second one is define. This is where they have to define the problem. When we talk about defining the problem, we talk about understanding, again, our users, our customer segments or audience. I mean, we call them several things. It could be end user, it could be customer segment, it could be target audience. And we explain the difference between these terms. We have to understand who they are, how old they are, because again, like if I want to help solve the waste sorting problem and like households in the city where I live, I cannot target everybody at once, right? So like targeting a 70-year-old lady who lives on her own is different from targeting a 45-year-old mother who has, 3 children at home. It's completely different. So here's where they have to also be more specific in selecting their target audience. Like, all right, so it's one problem. Yes, people in Beirut don't sort their waste, but who are you going to target in your solution? So for example, they can say, I really want to tackle the problem in households where there are children because they generate like bigger amounts of waste than like single old people who live on their own. So this could be as simple as that, and then they have to identify the persona. So it's like my persona. Let's say I'm around 40 years old. I'm a mom of 3. I am a working mother. I'm working now from home. I am aware about environmental problems, yet I'm not very aware about recycling facilities. I have tried sorting waste for some time, but I'm not sure if this effort is like leading anywhere, because I don't know what's happening with my sorted waste after I do that. Sometimes I'm still confused about certain types of waste and where to put them in which bin, and so on. So only they're going to be able to know this if they interview me or people who are like me and better understand these details. This is what we call the persona. So they have to create a persona for their target audience. Again, like what's their demographic, gender, age, what do they do, educational background, socioeconomic background, where do they live, and so on. And they have to understand the pains and the gains. So here we talk about the empathy map. That again, there's no submission there. And for grade 10, we like move quickly over these, and hopefully in grade 11 and 12, we will focus more on them, and maybe there will be some submissions related to them. But here it's like a quick overview of the process. But again, if you feel that they don't have an understanding of their target audience, you can simply ask, did you try to identify your persona? Did you write down what are their characteristics? Did you try to identify their pain and their gain? So in terms of waste sorting, the example I'm giving you, my pain is that I need more space because my kitchen is not that big, and I need like 2 or more bins in order to sort my waste. At the same time, my pain is that I don't have clear guidance on which piece of waste should go in which bin, because some waste is not clear, like it's like multiple material mixed together. For example, the milk bottle, the UHT milk bottle, I don't know where it should go, if it's recyclable or not. If for example, cardboard that has some food on it, should I put it in the recycling or should I just consider waste? So there's a lot of things I don't know. So this is a pain. What's my gain? And like time as well, time and effort I have to put into this. And like I need to also make my helper understand about all of these things, my children as well, because they have to also sort the waste. It's not just me as the main like lady in the household. What's the gain? The gain is that I want to make sure that my recycled waste is actually being sent to a recycling facility. I want to make sure that my effort isn't gone to waste. I want to make sure that I'm helping my environment. My gain is I want to have alternatives to single-use plastics. I don't like it when we use a lot of single-use plastics, but I don't find a lot of alternatives in my surrounding. So all of these insights might help the students come up with good ideas. So it could be, for example, I will either help you to better sort your waste, or no, I will help you find alternatives for single-use plastics, like more environmental friendly material, or I will help you send your recyclables to recycling facilities. So it could be many things. So, but because it's specific and there are specific insights there, then now they have many options for ideas, and not just like, oh, we're going to create like a recycling program. This is like, the cliche solution we always hear. We don't want to hear these cliche solutions, simply because we believe that by following this process and the design thinking methodology or the human-centered design, they will be able to better identify specific, feasible and viable solutions. So this is the ideate. They have to come up with many solutions. And again, we say that quantity leads to quality, meaning that you start off by a lot of different solutions. You don't just say, oh, it's obvious, let's do a recycling program. That's it. No, that's one solution. And I mean, trust me, a lot of people have tried this, it didn't work. It means that there's something wrong there. So let's come up with different solutions. As I mentioned, it could be, let's try to find a list. And again, like they have to think of something related to web app. Let's try to come up with a list of places in Lebanon that sell alternatives to single-use plastics. So remember, I showed you like edible utensils. This is one type of social innovation. If somebody in Lebanon, if a retailer sells this, like I might be interested, honestly. Like I would like to use these for like my picnics and camping instead of plastics, which we all know is like, even like my building is part of a recycling program because we live next to AUB. It's called the AUB Neighborhood Initiative. And they explicitly put that the single-use plastics like the spoon and the fork and the plate, the plastic ones, are not recyclable. So we still have to throw them into the waste bin and not the recycling bin. So yeah, it could be this. It could be, as I mentioned before, connecting me with recycling facilities. It could be making me better understand what goes in the recycling bin versus the other one. It could be so many different things, basically. So they have to come up with as many ideas as possible. And then they have to prioritize and come up with a certain system to see, okay, what would work, what wouldn't work, what is more feasible, what would be better for the persona I'm trying to work with, what is more sustainable, and so on. So this is for the ideation. Prototyping is when they will create a low fidelity prototype. Low fidelity meaning that it doesn't have to be a functional prototype. So let's say they are saying, I'm gonna create some guidelines or guides to how you can recycle waste. It doesn't have to be the best guide in the world. It could be like, like rough, something that is rough that they can put together and show it to me and see like, oh, does this make sense? Does it answer your problems? Does it help you? Similarly, of course, in this program, it's very specific. They're trying to come up with a web app, so it's very specific. And we will tell them how to prototype. So this isn't an issue. Usually it's a bigger issue in programs where they can do anything. Like they can do a mobile app, they can do like a real like on-ground program. Then prototyping might be a bit more difficult. But here it's just like they have to prototype the web app itself, which is easy. And they know how to do it step by step. The final phase is testing. We cover all these phases, although again, we won't be reaching the testing phase because this only applies after they have a prototype and they start testing it with actual people. Of course, if they go there, then they will have an advantage or an edge over the others because they can mention this in the pitch itself, which will give them an edge. Any questions about the process before we move on? So this is very important. And you might be getting questions about it. So I want to make sure that it's clear. You're like familiar with it. Again, the whole idea here is before we maybe I'm going to ask you this. And usually, if we ask our students, what can we do to help, for example, the environment? Where would they start? And in which of these phases or steps do you think they would directly jump and start? So what's like, I don't know if you have the answer for this, but like, in your opinion, where do our students or youth in general, or people generally, even adults, they directly start by saying how we can solve a certain problem?
But in the ideation phase.
Creation, yeah.
Exactly. So this is the whole idea, is like you do not start with ideation, because if you do that, you are basing your solution on, again, assumptions, intuition, personal experiences, maybe misconceptions, right? And bad influences, maybe. So the whole idea behind the design thinking process is, before you throw ideas and throw solutions, you have to develop empathy with the target audience. You have to spend some time defining the problem, and only after that you start ideating and throwing solutions. And this is where we have to be open-minded and think of different solutions. Even if I'm very passionate about beach cleanups, I don't have to just stick to that. It could be one of the options, but I have to think of other options as well. And this is where hopefully they will be working in a team, and they will be thinking all together, okay, what could be a good solution there? And again, we emphasize quantity leads to quality. So they have to come up, like in some programs I have been into, they would ask us like, we need 40 solutions. I mean, we're not doing this now. We don't want to like overdo it. But like when you come up with 40 solutions, you're gonna be sort of sure that the one you chose at the end is like feasible, it's adequate, and so on. So again, if you have any questions, please let me know, because this is very important.
So
Like,
far, so good.
great. All right, and now I'm gonna go like a bit quicker over the rest of this. So who can use the design thinking process? We make it clear for them that it's not just designers. Like some people would say, like, as designers, it's true. Like designers definitely use it, definitely, but it's not just designers. It's like anybody. It is us. It is entrepreneurs. It is citizens. If anybody can use the design thinking process, really. And this will help them even in like other projects they do at school, because I'm sure a lot of projects need this kind of thinking and this kind of methodology to empathize, to define the problem before we jump into the solutions. And this is the empathy map I told you about. It is pertaining to a specific persona. And the whole idea here is that we have to think about my persona, who they are. Again, like on the face, we tell them to put sticky notes. And by the way, we do introduce them to some, and I'm pretty sure a lot of your schools are using these anyway, like virtual brainstorming and virtual whiteboard tools that they can use as a team, especially now in COVID, in order for them to be able to brainstorm and work together virtually, like Google Jamboard and other tools. So we encourage them to use those as well. So on the face, for example, we can say how old this person is it a male or a female, their educational background, socioeconomic background, where do they live, what do they do, married, not married, children, no children, so on. And then we have to think about the different aspects. What are these people thinking and feeling? Of course, it's not a general thing. It is under the theme that we're working with. So for example, if it's about waste sorting, what does the Mona, let's say the persona that they chose, think and feel about waste sorting and how she deals with everyday waste? I think that we are using a lot of plastics. I feel guilty for trashing the planet with so many plastics. I wish we had like alternatives for single-use plastics. I think sometimes it's a bit complicated to know where to throw the waste. And I feel sometimes overwhelmed and not sure if what I'm doing is doing the planet any good. What do I see? I see that a lot of people still, unfortunately, like put normal waste in the recycling bins. I see that in Beirut, the recycling facilities are not serious enough about this. And I see that there are some initiatives, and I see some, like advertisement that encourage us as citizens to sort our waste in order to have better recycling. What do I say and do? I tell my children all the time to throw the right waste in the right recycling bin, and I do that. I have trained my helper to do it as well. And I always argue with my husband, like, let's wash, if we like order delivery, for example, let's wash the plastic containers so we recycle them instead of just throw them in the waste bin. What do I hear? I hear that recycling in Lebanon is still very inefficient. It's still very like basic. I hear that the recycling facilities take very long time to come and collect the waste from the buildings. And I hear that we need definitely to reduce our plastic or recyclable usage, and not just sort our waste, but like to reduce our usage. What's the pain and gain? I mentioned this before, I'm not going to repeat it. So this is one example of a persona. Again, it's like a married woman with children of a certain age group, of certain educational background, of certain geographic area. They can have multiple personas if they are if I don't just want to deal with like a married woman, I can also have like a single woman or a single man. It's up to them, but not too many, like usually not more than, I think, 3 or 4 personas. Again, there is no deliverable or submission here, but they have to understand this. How do you know? Like, for example, if they ask you, I'm having a problem with my solution, like that then you ask them, but like, did you check with your, personas? Did you do the empathy? Did you talk with these people? So this will help. And in the videos, we give them some examples. I'm not gonna do that now, but like I have 2 famous examples that are really everywhere online. One of them is called the Embrace Infant Warmer. It is a design thinking case, which like ended up being a successful and award-winning entrepreneurial venture that saves lives. So this is very like social oriented, like how can we use design thinking to help the world, to help babies in less developed countries to survive and improve the and reduce the infant mortality rate, basically. The other one is about water consumption and fresh water collection in India. And we tell them very specifically like how somebody could have misconceptions about a certain thing, and how with empathy they can have a better understanding of the problem. So all of this is on the platform. I'm not gonna go through the examples, but again, this is how do we use design thinking in real life, in practice, to help us come up with better solutions to real problems. We talk about the customer journey map, and this is about like, for example, I gave you the persona of Mona. I gave you like how Mona does things nowadays. So as I mentioned, we are already part of a recycling program in our building, in our neighborhood, but there are still things that are not that good about it. So if they follow this journey map, they can break the journey into different steps, and they can see in which phases is the customer satisfaction good or really good or not that good or really bad, and see this will help them to see how they can make it better in their own solution. Again, there's no submission there, but it's a tool for them to use. Again, we don't honestly expect them to use this now in grade 10, but it's a good exposure. And finally, we talk about the difference between a customer and an end user. And this is something that is important, because many times when you're talking about social initiatives or social innovation projects, the customer and the end users are different. So the customer is the paying customer, whereas the end user is the person who's benefiting from the service or product. And many times they might be different. So for example, in the Embrace Infant Warmer case, they are tackling very vulnerable populations or communities in rural areas and underdeveloped countries. So the people will not be paying for the product, but they are the end users. So they have to make sure that they empathize with them, that they will use the product correctly. But at the same time, they have to pitch it for the customer, the paying customer, who is in this case, the international NGOs who work on supporting these vulnerable communities in these vulnerable areas, such as the UNICEF, for example. So Embrace Infant Warmer is distributed by UNICEF to people in rural India and rural Africa as well, to again, as we mentioned, help reduce the infant mortality rate in those areas. So we tackle this because it's important. Yeah, this is it mainly for the design thinking. Any questions?
No questions. No, thank you. To unmute, it takes time. No, Sava. Till now, we're good.
All right, awesome.
In Thanker, we are kind of familiar with this, especially because I worked, we used to prepare with a colleague of mine. We used to prepare, I told you maybe innovation, it was an annual event. That's why we were familiar with most of the things. And we used to choose a lot of environmental issues. So it's kind of, you know, it's easier if you want. Let us put it
totally, I agree. And I believe that any students who have been previously exposed to these concepts will be able to capture them better, grasp them faster, and they will be able to do a better job. This is why I mentioned that a lot of these concepts will be repeated in grade 11, grade 12, maybe in a bit different way. Maybe we're gonna go into a bit more details. But because these concepts, I mean, again, you are teachers and supervisors in school, you know that we need a lot of repetition for these to stick, especially if they are not familiar with this methodology. I mean, even an AUB, for example, I teach engineering students. They are all very new to this idea of like, I shouldn't directly throw ideas and solutions. And like all our engineering students do this mistake all the time. They directly say like, I'm building, I don't know what's. Like, okay, guys, wait, what's your problem? What problem are you trying to solve? Did you empathize? And we are wired, I don't know if it's like a Lebanese thing or it's a global thing. We are wired to directly start throwing solutions based again on our assumptions, feelings, thoughts, experiences, what we hear from others, which we want to change this. We want to always like, okay, you have a great idea, fine, just let us put it aside for a second. Let's think again, what's the problem I'm trying to solve? Who is facing this problem? I need to understand them better. I need to empathize with them. After I do that, I define the problem in a better way. And then after that, I can start thinking of the different solutions or ideas. So this is the whole idea or point behind this. Now I'm moving to the third module, which is called market research.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. Market research, I think they're going to be even more familiar with this because I know like I have kids and I have a grade 6 and grade 3 right now, and the baby is still like at home, not doing anything. But the whole idea is that they get exposed to secondary research, primary research very early on in elementary, which is good. But again, here we are putting this in the context of the project and of what they're doing in the program itself. So we talk about market research, we talk about why is it important, and we tell them how this is related to design thinking, because we don't want them to get confused or like there's design thinking and now there's market research. We explain the overlap and where they work nicely together and how they complement with each other. And we mentioned the types of primary research, definitely interviews, as we mentioned in the empathy part, focus groups, and we explain the difference between each one and like advantages, disadvantages. Like interviews gives us the best insights. However, it's like time consuming. It will take a lot of time to do it. You cannot interview a very big number of people because you need a lot of time or a big team. Whereas in focus groups, it's more time efficient, yet the insights might be a bit less interesting because there might be groupthink and like other factors that happen there. Online surveys or surveys in general are the most popular primary research methodology. We give them some tips on how to avoid like common mistakes. You don't just like create a survey and send it to everybody. You have to make sure there's a small description. You have to make sure that the right audience is filling the survey. Like if you are trying to solicit the opinion or better understand the behavior of mothers, and how they sort waste in their households, you cannot send this to, again, like students or to, I don't know, grandmas. So you have to make sure you are targeting the right audience, and you might have some questions in the survey to double check that. So in case it goes to the wrong people, you will know from the answers and you'll simply eliminate those answers, not to skew the results. And finally, observations, which is again, like we saw it a bit in empathy. It could be like shadowing, or like I observe how they do things. I better understand their customer journey. And this will help me to better understand the problem and my persona. So this is primary research. We talk about each one in details in the videos. Yeah. And then we talk about secondary research. And of course, like secondary research for our students is synonymous with Google search. We tell them it's not just about Google search, it's about finding the right kind of information for the solution we are looking at, and for the problem we're looking at. So it's very important. And we give them like a specific example of how when you are trying to see who else is doing something similar, you don't just look at the solution, but you look at the problem in general. And we give them the example of like you all know now on smartphones, we have a problem, which is the diminishing lifetime of the battery. So I know a group who are working on a smart charger. So it's a different kind of charger than the one you get with your phone that will enhance the lifetime of the battery. So when I asked them about who are your competitors, they said, oh, like we only found one in US and another one in I don't know which country. But I said, guys, your competitors are not only other companies who are doing smart chargers. They're anyone really who is coming up with a solution to solve the problem of the lifetime of the shrinking lifetime of shrinking battery lifetime. So this is something we make sure they understand. So in order to look at our competition, we look again at who else is trying to solve the same problem and who is targeting the same customers, even if they're doing it in a different way. And we hear we make them attentive to the fact that they need to have a holistic understanding of the market and not just the local one. So although the problem is very specific, very local, and the solution also, but they have to have an understanding about what's going on in the world in this space, because this will help their ideation. This will help them come up with better solutions, with more effective solutions, if they know what's trending, what other companies are doing, even if it's in a completely different geographical area. It's important for them to be aware of this, because also we would like them to think of the scalability of the solution. Like I'm starting again, and we want them to start on a very small scale, on a very local scale. However, in the business planning, it's good to always think, okay, how can this grow? How can this be more effective? How can this have a bigger impact? Again, we're talking about social impact here. So this is very important. So this is what we mentioned about secondary research. And this is primarily it for grade 10. We don't go into more details of market research. Again, any questions?
No, it's okay. It's good. For me, it's good. I don't know for the rest.
Any questions from anyone before we move
These
on?
we're familiar with these.
Good for me.
Awesome. Yes, I mean, I'm sure you are. I'm just like
no, that's why we don't have questions.
Sure. That's why I'm like quickly going over them, giving you an overview about what they will be getting in the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, but I have a small question.
Sure.
It's very understandable, the whole process, but I'm not getting it. I'm getting it, but I want a detailed more explanation of what will be our role in this process in guiding the students. If you can just give us
this is actually
a further explanation.
Yes, this is the last part of today's session. So I just have one more module that I'm gonna cover, and then we will talk about this more thoroughly. But what I am trying to answer parts of this question as I go through the content material, because I expect, and you know better, of course, I expect that as they go through the process, they might have questions. And again, although we are available, but as I mentioned, we would like the school supervisors to be the first point of contact, meaning that if, for example, they are not understanding why they are like being exposed to the design thinking process, and they ask you that, like you should be able to answer. And of course, if it's like, if you need support, we are there. But or for example, they would tell you like, how do I empathize with my end user? Like, how do I do it? they might ask you this, or although there's no submission on that specifically, but because again, like students, especially if they're a bit new to this, they might have a lot of questions. And the whole idea behind this training of trainers session is we want you to be familiar with the whole process. So if they have any questions, you know what they're talking about, and you have like some kind of direction on how you need to answer them. So this is like, yeah, and like a very high level. And then I'll talk more specifically about the deliverables, the submissions, how you can check their progress, and so on. All right.
Doctor, would it be possible to
Perfect.
get like one slide of each, like one slide of the design thinking, one slide, or no? For us,
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
in a PowerPoint, one slide of each to keep
Yes.
as a reference.
Did what I was like showing you, is it enough, or do you need more?
Yes, yes. No,
No,
it's more than
it's
enough.
enough.
Okay, great. And definitely there's also this like recording.
Very explicit and more than enough. Yes.
Thank you.
But you know, when you are a faculty member, and you know that when you have these as reference, they are very
Yeah,
good.
sure.
And sometimes you need to share something with students
Of course.
on Zoom, maybe to explain more. You know, especially that they're like
Sure.
15
Okay.
years old.
Yes,
Okay.
we'll do that. We will prepare this and send it along with the tables, which I
Perfect.
showed you, the
Yes,
start
they're
dates,
excellent.
end dates, and the
Yeah,
submission.
for our reference.
Okay,
Thank you.
awesome. Thank you. All right, so now I'm gonna like, this is like another important component of the social business model design that I will cover, and that will be it for the material. There are a few other like modules, but they're very small, like ideation. Simply, how do you put several ideas out there? How can you brainstorm? How can you like be more creative? It's very easy. We also have one on prototyping, which is again, they just have to do the prototype and take screenshots. It's nothing else. Web development, we won't get into the technical details because it is pretty technical. And again, we will be supporting from our side if they have any issues with the technical component. In future years, we hope that we will be also integrating technology teachers or technology supervisors who can also assist there. And there will be the pitching module, which is, again, it's a step-by-step what should be in the pitch. It's very easy. I can also include it in the guide that we will be sending you. So this is like the last module I'm going to be covering today. It's about designing the social business model. And here we talk about the lean startup methodology. This is like a 10 video or 10 lesson module, so it is pretty extensive, and like I did my best during the videos to make sure that everything is very clear. And of course there are like supplementary material, more videos that they can watch on YouTube, and we have put the links for them. So the whole idea behind the lean startup methodology, again, it like works very nicely with the design thinking process, and I will show you in the next slide how they work nicely together. But the whole idea behind it is that, again, I don't just base a product or a solution on my assumptions and on my beliefs and my thoughts and directly like spend a lot of time building it and like then launch it to market. This is the wrong way to do business. This is the wrong way to do entrepreneurship. And this is why a lot of entrepreneurs fail. This is why a lot of startups fail within the first year of their inception, because unfortunately, a lot of them, they haven't done enough testing, validation, with the end user or the customer to understand that what they are trying to build is the adequate solution that the customer needs or wants. So this is the whole idea behind the lean startup methodology. And this is why we say launch fast, fail fast. So it's all about putting your product out there as quickly as possible, testing it, measuring the results. And this is actually, if you think about this, what we're doing at Shabab Lab. So as I mentioned, the platform is still lacking, for example, the team features. We need to add like a mentorship support later on, but we still don't have it. And we're not going to wait to have it until we test. We want to test as quickly as possible, see how students react to this, how teachers and how schools react to this, and keep building and improving as we learn. So this is exactly what we're doing at Shabab Lab, because it is the right way to do startups in our world. So we talk about the build, measure, learn loop. So this is very iterative. They don't spend a lot of time building. They just, as soon as they have something that's good enough, like usable, they can directly put it out in the hands of the customers. And of course, we need a lot of feedback. This is why we always tell you, please give us feedback. We want to hear how they are using Shabab Lab. If you are like comfortable with it, what's going well, what's not going well. So we keep improving, learning, and building again. So the whole idea is that we are working in parallel to the bigger design thinking methodology, and it's all about understanding our customer, okay, or again end user, or both, depending on whether they have a customer and end user who are different. And the whole idea is that they need to do customer discovery and customer validation before they create a startup or a company and so on. So these are the two things that they have to be really working on. These are, by the way, slides that I haven't included in the videos. Okay, so we talk about the lean model canvas. I'm gonna zoom in a bit for you to see. So this is a one-page business plan. It's a very well-known, well-used business planning canvas that everybody in the world now in entrepreneurship uses. And as you can see, it highlights really the things that we were talking about in the design thinking methodology. So what's the problem? Who are the customer segments? What's the solution? What's the unique value proposition? The key metrics, so what I need to measure and in order to keep learning, what are the channels, how do I reach my customers, what are my revenue streams, how do I make this sustainable and not just a one-time initiative, and is the cost structure. So we talk about all of these, but because this is about social impact, environmental impact, we tackle what we call the social business model canvas, which is exactly like the lean model canvas. However, it has two additional components, which are the impact and the purpose. So the purpose is why you're doing this, what is the bigger aim, and the impact, what is the end goal? What do you want to change in the world? How do you see things in the far future? If you were able to execute your idea, if of course people were responsive, if they adopted this, and so on. So we go through this step by step, and we explain every single one of them, and with examples. So it's not just like a high level explanation. We go through the different examples, and for each one, we tell them what they have to do. We tell them, for example, if you're using Jamboard or using Mural or Miro, which are like different brainstorming virtual tools, make sure you use sticky notes. If you print this out as well, like they have the template as they have it as PDF, as PowerPoint. If they want to print it out, we encourage them to use sticky notes, because this is all about like changing and continuously brainstorming and adding and removing like things or components to this plan. So we like emphasize a lot on this, like being dynamic and how they do it. So the problem is, what is the problem they're trying to solve, which they have already identified. Here it might be a bit more clear, I would say, than the first submission, hopefully, because they have learned more and they have like more exposure to all of these concepts. So why is this problem a problem? What's the opportunity there? And what would happen if we don't solve it? And again, the existing alternatives based on market research, they have to determine who else is doing something that is solving the same problem, even if it's a different solution. So they have to have a good idea about the existing alternatives locally and regionally and globally as well. Then the customer segments, this is what I was mentioning, the persona. Who are they? Is my customer different from my user? They have to like specify all of their characteristics, their, as I mentioned, like age group, gender, socioeconomic background, and so on. And most importantly, they have to identify who is the early adopter. So who are the first people who will be using our product and excited about it, product or solution or a service. It doesn't have to be a product all the time. So early adopters is key, because this is our start point to success. Then we talk about the unique value proposition, and maybe now I will show you something on the platform as well. We have also examples of unique value propositions from the successful companies in the world, like from Uber, from Zoom, from iPhone and so on. And like we tell them what a good unique value proposition would look like so that they can come up with that. And by the way, this is not very easy. This is why we give them a lot of examples. And we tell them what is a high level concept and keep it optional, because a high level concept is more of an analogy. So for example, we say that Shabab Lab is the Coursera for social innovation in the Arab world. So it's an analogy, like everybody knows what's Coursera. They are leading in the e-learning market. So if I say we are Coursera for blah, 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 people will better understand what I'm talking about. But it does take time sometimes to find this analogy. So we keep it optional. So anything that we feel is like tricky or a bit more complex, we keep it as optional. And we mentioned that it's fine. It could be optional. Solution. So again, remember, like we didn't start with the solution. We started with the problem, the customer segments, with the UVP, and then we are now talking about the solution. What are the high level features of my solution? And this should be again clear. Anybody who hears this should understand what I'm trying to do and why this is important and why this is meaningful. And then I have the unfair advantage. This could be sometimes tricky as well, especially because we are dealing with like young ages. Unfair advantage is usually about the team, about, for example, in Shabab Lab, why do you think we have an unfair advantage? Because the developers of the program, the designers of the content are university professors with over combined 50 years of experience in business, in ethics, in engineering, and technology, and so on. So we have this strength of like who the company is made of. So this is the unfair advantage. Of course, this is based on experience, on and on qualifications. Like for our grade 10 students, they still don't have this kind of experience, so they have to think about other things. And I give a lot of examples in the lessons. For example, it could be about their connections and how they're well connected with their society and the people who should be stakeholders in the solution they are providing. They could be, for example, they have faced the problem themselves or somebody who is very close to them. So they have a better understanding of the problem, and this could be an unfair advantage as well. So it could be multiple things. And again, if they don't think they have an unfair advantage, it's fine for now because they're still very young and very unexperienced. So excuse me for all the crying sounds. And now the revenue streams, because our like unique approach in Shabab Lab, I would say, is that we are encouraging the students not just to create meaningful solutions to meaningful problems that have a social or environmental impact, but we are also encouraging them to think about them as entrepreneurial ventures, as sustainable ventures. And sustainable is key. Sustainability is not just about the environment, and we explain this very clearly in the lessons. It's also about the economic viability and the economic sustainability of the project. So I'm sure all of you have heard of one-time beach cleanups, one-time cleanup initiatives, one-time recycling initiatives, but we don't want that. We want something that is sustainable. Again, even if they didn't execute it in reality, we want them to start from now training themselves to think about sustainable solutions. How can I make this sustainable? The best way is to have a revenue stream. Even NGOs, even, for example, Arc-en-Ciel, if they're like very big in terms of environmental advocacy and activism, they have revenue streams. And I remember that before the crisis, I have no idea now what happened. They were 70% self-sufficient. So they were generating revenues that are equal to 70% of their costs. So they were really moving towards becoming a social enterprise rather than an NGO. And this is what we want. We want our students at this age to start training themselves to think about sustainable solutions and not just like, I'm gonna, like fundraise. I'm gonna ask for donations. I'm gonna apply for grants from the UN. But, you never know if you'll get them or not. This is not very sustainable. So they have to think of revenue streams. They have to think how they're gonna make money to at least cover their costs. If they don't want to make profit, that's totally fine, and it's okay. But if they want to make profit, this is not wrong as well. So we are also trying to change this mindset of like good solutions or initiatives that are serving the community should always be not for profit. They should always be non-governmental in nature. We are trying to change this because, again, this is the trend now, and the more sustainable way to do social entrepreneurship. Of course, why do we talk about revenues? Because we know we have costs. And again, this is a big misconception. A lot of students sometimes say, oh, but like I'm going to be working on this, so it won't cost me anything. But your time is worth something. And now you're going to be putting the time, will you be putting the time forever? If you want to be dedicated to this, then you probably want to get paid. Otherwise, you will lose interest. So that is a cost. Other people who will help you as well need to get paid. You need to buy certain equipment. You need to invest somehow in marketing. You need to build collaborations. So you definitely have some costs to incur, and they have to think about this cost structure. But here at this stage and in grade 10, we're not going to go in details in terms of financial planning. We're not going to put numbers to these items, but we just need them to think about, okay, what do my costs look like in terms of what are the certain cost items, and not like how much do I need to pay in salaries. This might be in like grade 12. Key metrics, how do I measure my success? What are some KPIs, key point indicators, that I need to keep monitoring and evaluating to see if I'm moving in the right direction? So if I'm creating a website, then I need to monitor the number of people who are visiting my website. It's very easy. You have Google Analytics now. It's like a free tool to use. We will tell them about it and we can make use of it. How many people are reaching me, but how many people are returning, so recurring visitors? How many people are signing up to my, let's say, recycling program? How many people are really using it? So it's not just about sign up, but about using, so active users. We also, for example, look at more medium-term and long-term metrics. For example, if you are looking to reduce waste and like increase recycling, they have to put some metrics to measure that as well. So what is the volume of recyclables I'm collecting per month? How much waste am I saving the planet to go into the landfills? So these are some metrics they can think about. And finally, channels. How are you going to reach your customers? So what are the channels that you are going to use? What's your pathway to your end users or customers? And here, like, also we have a big misconception now with the youth. They always tell you like social media. It's not always the case. And we explain this, like why it's not always social media, because sometimes you are targeting businesses or organizations, and although they are present on social media, but the decision makers are not the ones who are taking care of the social media account. So you have to directly contact them, send them an email, maybe give them a phone call, request for a one-to-one meeting, talk to them, etc. So we covered different channels that they can use to arrive to their customers. Yeah, and that's it for the business model or the business planning module. Again, any questions?
No, since we are going to get them as PowerPoint, we are safe, because definitely you can't. It's too much information, and you can't. You need them in front of you all the time. And I think when we move step by step with the kids, we should be okay. We should be okay.
Awesome.
We'll take it week by week.
Yeah.
Everything is very clear, but because too much information, we need to, take it step by step.
Yes. And by the way, I have like a 12-minute video version of some of these modules. I can also send it to you. So for them, it's like 5 times 10. So it's 50 minutes. I have a 12-minute version of this, so much shorter, same content, but it's like squeezed. I can also share it with you if you need.
Okay. Perfect.
All right, and last step. Are we fine? Like, I think we need 15 more minutes, and that will be it. Of course, and I'll take any questions if you have. But now I would like to go again to the platform itself. All right, so I'm going to show you things from the beginning. So I'm going to log out so you see how we can access the platform from the beginning. All right, so now I'm signed out, and I'm going to go to the main page. So it's shabablab.com. I just want to tell you that Similar to how we're going to be creating accounts to the students, we are going to be creating accounts for you as supervisors or teachers. Okay, so I will be also sending you a small Google form. It's much shorter than the one that we sent to the students, so don't worry. To have some information about you, like your name, email address, phone number, things like that. So we can create an account for you on the platform, and we will send you your username and password. So you can directly access the platform. Now I'm gonna sign in with my username and password. Okay, of course you can remember me, so you don't have to remember the password every single time. If you forgot your password, you simply press on forgot. They will send you an email to like change your password, or you can simply from the account. So as you can see, I'm Mona. This is my profile picture. If I press on the small arrow next to my name, I have account. On account, if I go to account, so I'm sorry, my internet is a bit slow. You will see that I can change my password. Okay, so I can like change my password. I don't know, put something else here and save it. All right, so and again in my profile, I can change a lot as well. Like I added a cover photo, I added a profile photo. I had to add them, like the system doesn't know them by itself. This is my username. If I do connections on the platform, it will show me who they are. So we have like a community part similar to Facebook. We're still testing it, and we hope that the students will engage with it, and this will become like better and better over the years. Like the groups I'm in, as I mentioned, you will have a group for your own school. So now I have like two example groups. So I have ACS and RHS. This is like just a sample. We're gonna create all the groups very soon. What courses I am part of? So I am part of all courses that are already on the platform. In your case, you will be in the Web for Change. And yeah, so many other things. So let's go back to courses. All right. So as a teacher or supervisor, you do have full access to the course. So even if you're interested in like watching the videos, I know your time is tight, but if you are interested, you can definitely do that. All right, I want to tell you one thing. This is something we still don't have here because we removed it. We are making it better. We will have 3 surveys for the students. One at the very beginning, so just after the first video, we'll have what we call a pre-assessment survey, because this is something that we need to give you as well as a report by the end of the program. So we need like from you to hear how was the experience, so on, but also we need to give you the results of these surveys. So we have a pre-assessment survey that will ask them how much do they know about the skills that they will learn in the platform, in the program, so that we assess like how it improved with time, because some of them might already know about some things, and we don't want to assume that because of the program they improved. And at the same time, if they don't know about some things and they did improve, then we can say, oh, like thanks to the program this happened. So we want to be like very transparent in that regard. So there will be a pre-assessment survey, a mid-assessment survey somewhere in the middle, and a post-assessment survey at the end of the program. And we will use these assessments to improve and also to send you the results as well, for you to understand how your students improved and so on. So this is the module. I showed this to you earlier. So every time I finish as a student, I finish a module, it will be marked as like done. And I can only move to the second, to the next module, not module, sorry. I can only move to the next lesson if I finish the previous one. And only after I finish the module completely will I be able to access the second one if it's open. So now we don't have the start dates, but you will see them once we give access to everyone. So for example, design thinking will open on March 28th, okay? What I will be trying to do, we realized this morning, like as a teacher, I'm a teacher on this, by the way, I still have to like do it one by one to have access. So I'll talk to the developers to make sure that teachers can access anything at any time. They don't have to finish a lesson before, you know, they go to the other one. So we're gonna be working on this to make it better. Now I want to show you the teacher dashboard. Or no, before I do that, let me just, 1 second. So as I mentioned, we're still doing some changes to make it better based on testing and based on like feedback we are getting. But everything will be finalized before the 25th. So don't worry about that. Okay, so I need to move to the, sorry. So I'm sorry for like the really slow internet. All right. So now I'm in the design thinking module. All right, and in the design thinking module, we will have the first assignment. So I still can't see it here. I think we have to add it, but you will be able to see the assignments directly on top of the module. And again, as we mentioned, we will be reminding the students by email about the deadlines. And of course, we will be reminding you as well, because we know that not all students might be checking their emails regularly and so on. So you might have your own ways of pushing them as well to do things on time. Now I want to go to the teacher dashboard. All right, so I'm a teacher, as I mentioned, and this is the teacher dashboard. So far, it's not extremely user-friendly. However, we will be fixing this also over the summer for better user experience for next year around. But it is like the functionality is there. And again, if you just follow me now and later on, if you have any problem, we're here to support. It's gonna be like very easy. So you have a filter here. So basically, it takes a bit of time. So just like be patient when you press on any of these arrows, because it is really like doing a query in the database. It takes a bit of time. So you'll say like it shows searching sometimes, and it takes a bit of time to populate the options. So just be a bit patient there. And then here in your groups, you should see the groups that you have. So in my case, I have 2 groups, okay, ACS and RHS. I'm gonna select ACS. This might be more relevant starting next year if you have multiple groups. For this year, you'll probably have only one, which is easy. Like you don't have really to worry a lot about this. Also, if you have multiple courses, which is not the case right now, you can choose between them. So I'm gonna select a web for change. So again, I'm filtering by group. So I want to see ACS students, and I want to see the students who are in the web for change. And then you can determine how many students you want to see per page. So I'm gonna put like 10, and I'm gonna filter. Okay, you can see here on the right on my pro panel reporting that these are the students who are enrolled in the course. So as you can see, this is just a test, by the way, so it's not really real data. Hala, Hani, Jihan, and Mona, they haven't started the course yet. So maybe you want to send them an email. We will be doing our like email reminders from our side, but you might also want to like do something. At the same time, you can see for those who have started, how much of the course have they completed. So here I can see that Mona has completed 21% and Yasmin has completed 8%. Also here, I have like a summary that tells me who haven't started. So the not started are 5, the start in progress are 2. And I have an in progress breakdown. So how much have they finished or completed from the entire program? So here I have 50% who have done less than 40% and 50% less than 20%. So none is over that. So here in the Pro Panel overview as well, you have the total number of students, the courses that you have, and the assignments pending. So here, when anybody submits the assignment, it will show here, all right? It will show, and you can go to it. So I'm gonna press it. We don't have any pending assignments now. So these are 2 assignments that were already submitted. So you will get the whole list of your pending assignments, and here you will have a button called approve. So definitely I can simply like download the assignment to check it. Yeah, so here it took me to the assignment page, so I can download it. I'm gonna go back. All right, I can also here go to view it in the context of the course itself. So here, because it's an old one, it didn't work. And then you can also leave a comment on the assignment itself. Because we are still like changing some things, we will like create a tour, a tutorial, a guide. You know, we're gonna create several things like a video, some snapshots, and also send them your way. But it's pretty easy, and it won't be like complex, I promise you. So you just have to approve, disapprove. For now, we don't have grades. For this course, we don't have any grades on the assignments because simply it's not graded. For future years, we will have to do more discussions with you and see if you would like this to be changed. But again, for this pilot program, it's not gonna be graded, but we have the option to have grades for future use, I would say. And this is like mainly it. I don't know what else you would like me to cover. So here you have the list of like, you know, different students, different submissions. Again, the dashboard is not the most user-friendly for now. We're gonna improve it, but it is like, it provides the basic functionality that you need as a teacher. So yeah, that's it for me, I would say. Any questions from your side? Did I answer the question of what's expected from you as supervisors? So you will get notified when your students will submit their assignments, and we expect you to check these assignments. All right, and you can provide comments, and you can simply, if you don't think it's a good quality submission, you can, and you simply do not approve it, and you type them in the comment box, like, I need you, this is like what I believe should be done, I need you to like resubmit, let's say.
So we should be more as advisors on their work. We should advise them on the steps they are going into, and we should advise them
and
what
monitor
to do,
that they are doing
what to
everything on
correct.
time.
Yes.
Father.
Yes.
Yes, we will also help you, like in case you I don't know, ask us like, can I have a quick report of who's on track and who's not? This is easy for us to extract. We can also send it, but you also have the ability to do it yourself. So the whole idea behind the teacher dashboard, you don't need to wait for us to provide this kind of information. You have access to it right away. And as I mentioned, you have directly access to the assignments without going like one by one module. You just like, as I showed you in the teacher dashboard, you will see the pending assignments. You directly go there and you will check them, you comment, and you approve or disapprove, basically.
Okay, and doctor, one last question, because I have to excuse myself.
Yes.
I'm half an hour late for my other meeting, but just to tell you, what do you want from the students right now? What are we supposed to tell them?
Yes.
Like they signed up, right?
Exactly.
Is there some a next step that they need to do now?
Yeah, so what we'll be doing is, after we collect all the registrations by March the 22nd. So Kara, you have to understand why we're waiting, because some schools, for example, ACS, they have made this optional for their students. So
Yes, no problem.
it's up to the students to sign up. So they need some time to be given to sign up or register. So we're giving them until the March the 22nd. After that,
Yes.
we will close the forms. So we hope that, like, in case you have it as mandatory, all of them would have filled it. In case it's optional,
Yes.
all those
In
who
our
want
case,
to.
yes. In our case, it's done.
Okay. We will take
It was
all of
optional.
the data. Okay, great.
Doctor, it was optional because, you know, we have a big number, 150 out of the 150 students, 33 signed up. The 33, they have to do the procedure. It's mandatory that they start. That's how we did it.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Yes, no problem. So we will be
And,
creating accounts for all of them,
Yeah.
all of those who have registered, and we will send them by email their username and password. And as
Okay,
soon
that
as
was
they
my
log in,
question.
as soon as
Okay,
they log in,
thank
so they will be able to access the platform on March the 25th, not before. As soon as they log in,
Okay.
they will directly have access to the Web for Change. So they can directly start. As I mentioned, the first module will be open. The second module will open on March the 28th. The third module will open on April, though. I forgot. So this is like how it's going to happen. And it's up to them how fast
Okay.
they want to do it. They either do it on one sitting, like the whole thing, or the whole module, or they can break it into different days. It's up to them, really.
Okay, perfect. That was my question. That was,
Yeah.
thank you. You answered my question.
So, and we will make sure to keep sending them emails that are motivating we will be thoroughly, like very closely following up on their progress and to see like at which step they are, and to send them like, you're here, make sure you finish this module before this time. Every time a new module opens up, we will also send an email to everyone like the new module is already open. We'll remind them about assignment deadlines. But so this is from a platform perspective. It's not difficult to do. But again, we are counting on you as the main point of contact, as I mentioned, and as the first point of contact, again, not when it comes to any technical issues in the platform, like these we have to solve, of course, but when it comes to anything related to the process, to the project, because again, as I started off my talk, this is like we are providing something to help the schools and not to replace the schools. So we just want to like provide you with something that complements your education and what you're providing to make it like go to the next level. But we believe that the schools should be in control of this process. So this is why we are.
Okay, and one last question.
Yeah, sure.
Doctor, we are 4 schools. So I saw BHS, RHS, and ACS, right? And Sankarai Najm.
And
We are
today
4
we are
schools.
4. We still have another 3 who are supposedly signed up, but they couldn't make it today. So we'll provide them with a ToT session next week. And yeah, we hope they won't change their mind. We still have Wellspring Community School. We have Dwight School in Dubai, and we have IC, International College.
Okay. So we're the only Francophone school.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Any other questions before we like call it off for today? I mean, again, thank you all for being here on Saturday morning. I know it's not that easy, and we really appreciate your dedication and commitment to your student learning.
Doctor, would you mind when second session can know about it, just in case you want to see it, or
yes,
or no, we're not allowed, it's for the other 3 schools?
You're allowed. No worries. Of course you can you can attend if you want.
Without introducing ourselves and this part, يعني.
No, it's fine. No,
إنه نكون a silent partner. We don't want to introduce ourselves anything. They let them do their thing. Okay.
No, there's no harm at all, honestly, even if بالعكس you want to.
So thank you very much. I have to. It was very interesting to go. I really have to go to my other meeting.
No worries. Thank you.
Nice to meet you all.
Thank you a lot.
Nice to meet you all. And hope it will be a great, really, I think it will be a great venture, and we'll enjoy it, and we will all learn, both students and advisors.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Yasmin. Thank you, Wissam. Or
Wasim.
And thank you, Wasim.
You're welcome.
Thank you, and nice to meet our partners in Rauda High School and BHS and ACS. Thank you very much.
Thank you a
Have
lot.
a nice
Thank
day.
you, Carla.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. So in case anybody has any questions, I can stay a bit and take your question.
I just have one question. Could other, maybe some advisors would have to join us from our school? Is there any problem in that?
Not at all. We do prefer
Maybe
that.
they could watch the next
Yes.
meeting if. Okay, thank you.
Definitely, we do prefer that they have this like training of trainers. Again, this year it's like basic, it's a quick. Hopefully, for future years we'll
Perfect.
have a more thorough one, maybe face to face if the situation permits.
Perfect.
But yeah, they're more than welcome. We will share again the
Thank you.
details for next session. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Fadel.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
So,
you.
any questions from Mr. Timothy or Mr. Yusuf?
No, thank you, Mona. Thank you. That was a very helpful presentation. I look forward to working with you guys on this
Indeed.
project.
Thank you so much. So we will be in contact via email to send you the guidelines that as requested, and to ask you to fill the form for the school supervisors or teachers. So we also grant them teacher access on the platform. So in case anybody else from ACS would also be like a supervisor, we'd like to have their information so we can create an account as well.
Okay, duly noted. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. And
Thank
for
you,
your
Thank
doctor.
you. Thank you,
Thank you,
Ella.
everyone.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
Dr.
much.
Nice weekend.
Should I share my number on the chat in case anyone wants? Because I've been
Yes.
answering Neda on direct message.